The Gallagher Shots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel and podcast. And we are here. It is first thing on a Sunday morning, the morning after we witnessed one of the worst Premier League games in history, and is yet to come as well, because it can't get much worse than that when you're looking at entertainment in a football game. I am your host, Kris, and I am joined by Iain this afternoon, and we are going to get straight into it. So I'm going to start with the starting 11, as we always do, Iain. And we had the rumours of the starting 11 probably about 2 hours before kickoff, I want to say. And we were scratching our heads a little bit at this point, thinking, that's random. You're playing Leeds away. We know we've got a couple of injuries, but it's Leeds away, a team that's newly promoted, and a team that's going to struggle in the Premier League, you could arguably see it. And it seems that we've gone for 5 at the back. So our WhatsApp group initially was going, that's bold. It's a bit strange of a decision. I'm not going to talk about what we felt there in the moment, because I think it's wise to just jump straight into the game at this point. And I think we realised early doors in that formation wasn't going to work.
No, it was a bit shocking. As in, you were kind of scratching your head thinking, why has he went with that? There's been a couple of games sort of towards the back end of last season where we've had 5 at the back, but that was for teams that were going to put a lot of pressure on us, and due to injuries as well. So a couple of come to my head, I think Chelsea at home, maybe Arsenal away in the cup. And you kind of understand that, because you would be up against it. You would probably be on the back foot a lot. But going into a team, like you say, a newly promoted team who got thumped 5-0 last week, got dumped out of the cup from an under-12s team from the league, 2 leagues. Is it League Sheffield? No, they're in League One, aren't they, Sheffield? Regardless, a lesser opponent, Leeds' confidence would have probably been through the floor at that point. So I'm really unsure as to why he started it. I get, obviously, we had injuries, and Monday night was sort of quite draining, but you've had 5 days to recover. Like, you're a professional athlete, you should be raring to go again with 5 days in between your last.
And I think we'll have to address as well that a lot of us were worried that there was going to be a lot of key players missing from that game. Obviously, Gordon picks up his suspension. Tonali goes off what we thought first of all was going to be a shoulder injury. You've got Joe Linton, which went off with Bruno doing hand signals that had everybody shitting the pants. And you had Fabian Shaw that went off with what we believe was a concussion injury as well. Mm-hmm. But then in the press conference, we found out that Fabian's going to be fine. Tonali was pushing to make it for the game, but obviously we'll see that Tonali makes it. And Joe Linton's the only one that injured player that's missing from the starting 11. So I was really hopeful going in that game. I thought, right, this is a great chance for us to bounce back here. And we've put in a lot of effort against Liverpool and came away with nothing. And for the reasons that you've just mentioned, Leeds have had a very, very poor week in regards to football. And you're thinking, right, we can nick a win here. And I'm saying nick a win. I didn't think it was ever going to be comfortable, far from that, because Elland Road's always a tough ground to go to. But I thought, at least we can put up a fight here, and we can put up a challenge, and we can try and get things back on track. And it just didn't happen throughout the game. And a lot of people over the last few weeks have been pushing for Asula to get his chance up top. Obviously, we've been shoehorning Gordon in there. And I thought Gordon, despite the sending off against Liverpool, I thought Gordon started the game very well. He was reading the lines very well. Yes, you can see that he's not a striker. But I think over time, you could see him picking those skills and attributes up at that point. So I think, right, I honestly thought before we saw anything, I thought that Howe might have just completely thrown a curveball and went with Alanga up top, Murphy on the right, and Barnes on the left. I thought would just been a like for like change between Gordon and Alanga, because we've seen Alanga play up top for Sweden when that rat that's still at the club didn't travel the last time with Sweden. It's a running theme, this, isn't it? And I thought that could be the case, but as we saw, Sula gets his chance. And I think as a fan base, I think as always, we are pretty split when it comes to opinions on players that are fringe players and looking to get a chance in the club. And I've always been on the side of the fence thinking, is Asula good enough to lead the line for us? And there's always been a huge question mark over that. And people would come back, Mark and Decker, to name a couple on the Monday night show that'll be say, well, you don't know that until he gets given a chance. He got given a chance there against Leeds, and you think that would be a nice fixture for him to get the chance again. And I thought I just saw all of the things that I've always been questioned about with Asula, likes of his position isn't the worst, far from it. But I just feel as if he doesn't read the game very well as a striker.
He doesn't seem to have a very high game IQ. And I remember, I think it was last season against Wimbledon in the Cup. I went and obviously I think it was me brother and my dad watched it on the telly and were like, oh, he's not very good. But from what I've seen in the stadium, what you cannot see on telly, it looked like he was making quite intelligent runs in behind, or trying to at least. And the ball just wasn't going there. So I've always tried to give him a chance, but I get he's got a lot of raw attributes. He's big, he is quick, but when he's got the ball, it almost looks like he doesn't know what to do with it. And I think you've maybe said it before, you just sort of, it's like when you're playing FIFA and you just bash the skill stick and see what happens. And it's not like he's a 17, 18-year-old lad as well. He's 23, I think. So it's not like you can give him the benefit of a doubt of, he's really young. Like, he should be moving into probably his best performing years in the next sort of 2 years, but I'm sorry, I just don't see it with him. He had that chance where...
I think I agree though, Ian, because I think it was quite telling in Eddie Howe's press conference leading up to the game. He was asked about Asula and the future that he has at the club, and he basically saying that Asula needs to get game times. He needs to be playing as many games as possible. So I think that door's still open for Asula to leave the football club, whether that's on loan or to be sold in the next couple of days, because we don't have long now before the transfer window goes. Well,
I think it's tomorrow, isn't it?
We've got less than... Yeah, it's tomorrow. So it's Monday at 5 o'clock or something daft like that, isn't it? Oh, it was a bit later.
7,
Can't
something
remember.
like
Changes
that.
all the time. I think it was quite telling at that point, and like you mentioned, he gets a couple of chances, and the half chances, they're not clear cut, far from it. And I know Satya saying that he's not good enough. It was one game that he gets given a shot, and I think it'll be very harsh for us to say, right, that's it. It just can't be given a chance again. But then I think with the striker that we've brought in, the big lad, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name right now until I get it correct, because that's what I'm worried of saying. I think now that I brought him in, and we've seen that Wiss has released a statement this morning, which, yes, the statement's a hell of a lot better than Alexander Isak's. He's saying that he has it in writing that he was promised that he would be able to leave the club if a reasonable offer came in. I think it's quite telling that we've just beat with record transfer fee to bring in another striker. We're still looking at bringing another striker in, and I think if that happens, it's not just one of them leaving. I think it probably will be both Isak and Asula that could possibly go out the door. But I think that's only if an offer comes in for Asula. I don't think we'll openly push to sell him this window. But I think if an offer comes in where he is going to get a chance in a starting 11 of a football club, I don't think we'd stand in his way as a football club. I think it's pretty wise just to jump back to the game, Ian. And I think I was speaking. I think it was Matty that I was speaking to before the game, and saying that if Bruno can play the same way that he played against Liverpool, or even close to that, then we'll be fine. Because we always say that battle is, if you win the battle in midfield, you're going to control the game. We never did that. Sean Longstaff was up against Bruno, and he did not give him a second. He knew Bruno's game to a T. He knew that he tends to take his time on the ball, and Longstaff was not giving him a chance to breathe. I thought Longstaff was great yesterday. I thought he really controlled it well from a Leeds point of view. If I was a Leeds fan thinking and looking at that performance, go, fair play. He's done really well there of breaking everything up. But as a Newcastle fan's point of view, I thought Bruno was so poor yesterday. So poor.
Yeah, I agree. And like you say, credit Longstaff. There might have been an element there of him trying to prove that he was still good, because obviously he had a lot of people on his back, at times me included. But he's probably put in a performance there to say, well, I could still fit in this team and do a job. But thought he absolutely had Bruno on toast. Like you say, he was on Bruno's first touch. He was there, and we know how much Bruno likes to hold on to the ball. He wasn't giving him a sniff. And to credit Leeds as well, they did press us quite well, I thought. But I just thought, because going back to the formation, obviously, I think it was dubbed a 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, but I was convinced it was a 5-4-1, which we were discussing before we came on. And I just don't think Bruno in a two-man midfield can cope. I've seen, like, obviously he posted on Twitter and like saying it wasn't good enough, blah blah blah. And I've seen people saying, "Oh, you are brilliant!" Like, call a spade a spade. He was pretty dreadful, as were the majority of the team. But yeah, it was a difficult afternoon. There was a couple of overhit passes he made. There was times where he got absolutely caught on the ball in his own half. And it's just it was such a frustrating watch, given what quality was shown on Monday. Not even just from sort of a determination aspect, but the actual football or playing at times was really, really good. And it's almost like they can psych themselves up to when they're up against it and when they've got a big team to play against. But when it comes to a team where, let's be real, you should probably be getting 3 points off, they just kind of turn up and go through the motions, like they're expecting to just go out and win.
It felt like a hangover performance for me.
Yeah,
that's exactly
100%.
what it felt like. I felt like the had been took a huge sucker punch on Monday with that late winner against Liverpool, and I think that's just rolled over into that game. It's all I can think of, because it was so bad. Honestly, we were watching that game, and I'm getting so frustrated watching it. And the certain performance which I do want to go through, both good and bad, because I don't want this to be complete negative, because at the end of the day, we get a point away from home, which is always a bonus. Of course it is. But I think when you're looking at the overall start of the season, picking up 2 points out of possible 9, and not scoring in 2 of those games, it is frustrating. Of course it is. But when you look at the fundamentals of it, there's a reason why we're not scoring goals. Yeah. It always comes back to one thing. Yeah. Hence why I can't be so annoyed and so angry at what's happening, because those lads on the field are giving it their all when there's somebody that's not even not asked whatsoever. So I've got to really take a step back and think about the situation as a whole, rather than that 90 minutes of football. Yeah, because it is frustrating. It's going to be frustrating for the players, but hopefully that has been solved now, whether or not Isak stays. But a couple of the good performances that I want to mention is Tino. I thought Tino had another good game. I think Tino is a superstar. You know, I think he's probably one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. There's no shock that there was rumours in the summer that Man City were looking at him at a potential replacement for Walker. It was at the time, wasn't it? And the more I see him, and whether that's at right back or left back, because he swaps again in the game when Hall comes on, you're thinking you've got it. You've got some superstar quality here where you could go all the way if you wanted. And I think the same about Hall.
Yeah, especially with him going forward. I thought he was really dangerous going forward. And what surprised us a little bit as well. So obviously he was at the under-21 Euros, so he's not had a full pre-season. I think he came back. It was one of the pre-season friendly games where he looked really ropey, and I was expecting quite a slow start from him. But I think he's been exceptional. going forward. And there was a couple of times yesterday, again, I think the formation didn't help, where he was getting caught out when we lost possession and he was miles out of position. But again, I just don't understand what that formation was trying, like what the game plan was, because it didn't look like
it's a risk you take, Ian. Like it's a risk they take as fullbacks these days. You know what you're going to get. They're going to be pushing up the field, especially the two that we have, because they love going forward, and it's you're always open to a counter attack. Of course you are. But then I think when you lose it in those positions when you're on the flank, that it's a bit easier because you've got other players around you just to drop in. Whereas if your wing backs are pushing up and somebody like Bruno or Tonali or Miley, whoever it is in the middle, loses the ball in that position, that's when you're going to struggle because there's not many people left to pick up the pieces. One of the performances, and I don't think this is going to come to a shock to anybody, is Elanga. When Elanga came on, one of the worst substitute performances I've ever seen. And that's not me saying that he's a bad player. Far from it. I like Elanga. But don't base it on that 20, 30 minutes that you're seeing, because that was not good.
That was dreadful. There was one instance where I think Tino plays a ball down the line when we're under pressure, and then Elanga's pace literally keeps the play alive. I think he maybe gets a throw in or puts a ball across or something. And then after that, it was he was giving it away. His crossing was running it out. His crossing was diabolical, and I equally thought on the other side as well, Harvey Barnes was pretty poor. And
I think you can look at all your wingers. Just to throw it out there, I think you can look at Barnes, Elanga, Murphy. Murphy does have 2 shots on target, and do you know that was the only way we're going to get a shot? Somebody just taking a chance, and Murphy was the one that did it, to force a couple of saves. But other than that, I can't think of anything else that Murphy. I forgot he was playing up until he had that shot.
There was a midway through the first half, well, sort of in and around our own box, and I don't know whether he tries to take a touch or he tries to like sort of on the volley pass it over a defender. He just gives it away, and I thought that looked like the Jacob Murphy that we all kind of seen a few seasons ago, where we're just like, what is he? But yeah, Elanga, Barnes were very, very poor, and it is a little bit disappointing. Obviously, I know it's still very, very early days for Elanga, so I'm not going to come out and say he is a poor footballer. I've seen so many people on Twitter and comments saying, "Oh, he's shite." I don't think he is. I think he's just having a very, very poor start. I personally haven't seen anything from him that impressed us, other than his pace. So knocking the ball past someone and running at him, he's great at that. But then he's dribbling, he's passing at times has been left a lot to desire. But yeah, to come out and say he's been shite, like, it's 3 games. He's playing in his complete new system. He hasn't got an out and out striker to supply. So again, it goes back to what you were saying before, that this whole start to the season has been sort of affected by one man being an absolute prick.
It's been sabotaged, mate. It's absolutely sabotaged. Like you know what it is? Hence why, once again, each conversation that we have, it always comes back down to that. Like, and you could tell that Eddie Howe, when he was doing his post-match conferences yesterday, when he's asking these exact questions. I think it was TNT that was it TNT that had it yesterday, or was it Sky? It was Sky, wasn't it? It's Sky. So, who was the main presenter? What's it called? Is it
Kelly?
Kelly, it is. Yeah. So it was Kelly, Shea Given. And I can't remember the other one. Is that who it was? Right. Yeah. It was. And I think they handled it really well, because they were quite apologetic when they were asking questions about Isaac. And they were saying that, because I think the last question he was asked is basically, are you going to be really thankful for when this ends, this transfer window closes? Then you can just get on, and you know what your team is, you know what your squad is, and you know what you have going forward for the rest of the season. Then obviously answers that. And then afterwards, it's Kelly that apologizes, just saying, "I'm sorry to ask you," blah 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 blah. Like, because you can tell that Eddie, like, he's probably sick of answering the questions, and you know what Eddie's how, like, he's saying, "I don't know what's happening." You know, he does. Like, you know exactly what's happening. Like, I'd rather Eddie just came out and says, "Yeah," I'd rather he just came out and went, Yeah, I know what's happening, but I'm not going to share it with you. Like, just say that. Don't pretend that you don't know what's happening. But I think from what I've seen this season, right, just to step away from the game, you're 3 games in, and we've had a tough start. There's no denying that. The fixture simulator generator was not very good to us. We always bookmark this Leeds game and think, right, that's probably the one that you're looking at, thinking, right, 3 points, most likely.
Still a tough game, though.
It is still a tough game, but that's once again not taken into everything which is happening behind the scenes: the injuries, the suspensions, the refusing to play as our star striker. And it was in our group chat saying that 1 point from Leeds to put 1-2 so far this season isn't a great start. I get that, right? It's not a fantastic start. It's far from it, but it's 2 points away from home. It's a shame that our opening home fixture came against Liverpool, because that's the one that you don't want. When you're looking through the fixture, you go, I'd rather skip Liverpool first game of the season at home. And I think it'll click, Ian. I'm not worried at all. I think it'll click,
no,
and I think with the arrival of a striker or two coming in, I'm optimistic for the season. I'm taking everything which has happened up until the return from the international break as it just happened. Just put that to one side. That's in the past. Move on now. That's where I am. I'm not sure what you think.
No, I agree. I said this, I think, when the fixtures come out, that it was a really difficult start. Villa Park's obviously a place that we usually struggle with. Liverpool at home is always going to be a tough game. Leeds, although we did pick up a victory there a few seasons ago, again, still a tough, and that was before all of the palaver with Isaac was happening. Looking at the positives, if you're trying to put an optimistic hat on, you've had 2 games away from home where you've kept a clean sheet and you've got a point. And like you say, if it had been, say, I don't know, Everton at home or Brighton at home, you could have.
Because we did well against Everton at home at the last game of the season.
Maybe that's not a great example. But anyone other than Liverpool. But again, the first 2 games, especially, you seen the quality that was there. It was very much us against the world kind of mentality, and I just felt yesterday, maybe Monday's played on the mind, but then could you are you just making excuses for that? Because it just looked devoid of all idea. You could have had Alan Shearer playing up front yesterday, let alone Isaac. We were creating nothing. It was just, like you said at the start, it was possibly the worst game of football I've ever seen in the Premier League. And I'm sure it was something to do with it's been the lowest, I hate XG, but it was like the lowest XG of any Premier League fixture.
Well, we didn't even, mate. So looking at XG, I've got it loaded up there now, because that was the big thing at the end of the game. I found it quite funny where the commentators was Carragher. Had to pick man of the match, and he was at that point going, I've got no idea, because I don't know who got man of the match in the end. It was a Longstaff.
I think it was Longstaff, maybe, yeah.
I've got no idea. This is how bad this game of football was. Nobody stood out. I think he highlighted Nick Pope a couple of times because he pulled off a couple of decent saves towards the end.
Said everything that Dominic Calvert-Lewin looked the most likely to score in the entire 90 minutes.
Of course he did.
I mean, it would have just been such a Newcastle thing to happen that he come off the bench and scored the winner. But like you say, looking at the positives, it's another point away from home. You probably want 3, but you've kept a clean sheet. Going into the international break, and obviously the closing of the transfer window, you'll have the players that will be at the club. Even if Isaac stays, Eddie has probably made a decision of one way or another. He's either just going to let him crack on and be a little prick again.
Well, knowing Newcastle's luck, Ian, it'll be a case where he'll go away fighting national duty. He'll get on the field. He'll do his ACL, but he's just out for the season anyway.
And then he leaves on a free in 2 seasons' time. But no, I think that the transfer window itself, I think we have got good players. I was again, Jacob Ramsey yesterday, before he went off at half time, he showed glimpses of real quality. Sort of cutting down the left-hand side, he put a really good ball in, and again, just lack of a striker's presence, or sort of a up the speed striker's presence. The the centre half situation. We've improved the right wing, albeit he hasn't hit the ground running yet. It has. Well, I've got good recruitment in. I'm looking forward to seeing Voldemort or whatever his name is. I think it's pronounced Voltamata.
It is. I think so.
But I'm just going to call him Voldemort for the crack. I watched him in the Euros, the under-21s, and he looked a really, really good player. So it'd be interesting to see if we'll bring anyone to into play alongside him, to play sort of off him. But it's been a rough start. But like you said, park everything that's happened before this international break. We've got a relatively kind fixture coming back. I think it's Wolves at home. So
Lawson winner, depending on who he's playing for.
So that's exactly what's going to happen, isn't it? But yeah, I think the next couple of fixtures after that, Bournemouth away, Arsenal at home. Again, we'll probably get ourselves up for the Arsenal game and give a good account. So, and then Champions League. So there's a lot to be sort of positive about and look forward to. But this whole start of the season, like you said, time and time again, has just been overshadowed by one really selfish, alien-headed prick.
One because you mentioned XG, and this has been why it's dubbed the worst Premier League game of all time from our side, is Leeds' expected XG was 0.59, whereas Newcastle's was 0.42. I tell you what didn't help that is the referee slowed the game down massively. Like, he was giving fouls for everything at one point. Like, it just stop and start all the time. And I was getting frustrated with that from both sides. He was giving fouls to Leeds that weren't. He was giving them to us, which weren't. I was thinking, how am I? But one of the things I did want to mention is the set pieces. Jesus, first man, every single time. Was it Tonali at one point, wasn't it? And he just couldn't be the first man. Yeah.
And it's, I think, literally since the 2022 World Cup, Kieran Trippier has never beaten a first man on a corner. You've got this person that you've paid for from, was it Michelin or something? That's his set piece coach. He's probably got really, really good ideas. Someone was saying in the group chat yesterday, if you cannot beat the first man, like, what are you meant to do? And it blows my mind, and I've said this for years and years and years. You're under no pressure taking the corner. It's not like someone's closing you down. You've got all the time in the world to loft it in, and you cannot beat the first man. It is the ultimate annoyance. So yeah, even when we're getting corners, you are just like, why? We might as well just give a goal kick to Leeds because we're going to do absolutely nothing from it. And we've got big lads as well, and we just it just summed everything up. It was just the most frustrating watch of all time.
Well, just to end on a couple of things as well. So there's a couple of players that go off, which once again I've got a question mark in regards of an injury or technical. So Ramsey goes off, which we believe he was injured, but it looks like Eddie's just said that was just a precaution. He didn't want to do any more damage because there was a bit of swelling on his ankle, I think he said. Botman does not comfortable either when he goes off again. I think people by now know my thoughts on Botman and how reliable he is. I think if an offer does come in, I think the club would be daft to not entertain it to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I know
he's a great footballer. He is. But he's a great footballer. It's just worrying.
If you're never on the pitch.
Yeah, it's just worrying.
I mean, he's done his ACL twice. He's missed. He's It looked yesterday as well like it was just he stood on his foot when he went up for a header. But like you say, really, really good talent, but you never see him because he's never
could be nothing. Could be nothing. We could come back to the next game and it's fine. But like you said, we've strengthened that position as well. I just don't know. I think it's probably a question for a different podcast. To be fair. So if you do want that question asked, join us on Monday night for the All Smile and Faces podcast. Is there anything else that you would like to mention before we sign out on this one? Because I never want to think about this game again.
No, I'm quite happy just to lock it away and pretend it never happened.
Thank God for that. Burn it. Just burn all footage of that game. In fact, put that game in a museum and show people how football should not be played in the Premier League.
It was honestly after the almost euphoria with how we almost fought back to get a really good point against Liverpool. You're just thinking, right, now's the time to kick on. You've got a couple of favourable fixtures coming up. and to go and put in a performance like that, it's just so Newcastle. Like that's
Of course it is.
And luckily for you, you don't have to relive it tomorrow either, do you? Because you're away, aren't you?
I don't, yeah. So I'm away, so I won't be there on Monday night show. So we have the lovely Chris Tunn hosting in my absence. So it's a Chris substitution. I'm subbed off, and Chris is jumping in the host seat for tomorrow. He better be wearing a cap, or I won't be happy. And yeah, so he's taking hold of the reins for that one. And we'll see who else is on there as well, because at this moment in time I have no idea, because I don't care, because I'm going on holiday.
And also probably no one wants to sit for an hour and talk about the worst game in Premier League history.
Well, you got to remember though, as we go live, the transfer window will be wrapping up. So there's going to be a lot of. Do you know what is when we normally do the Monday night show? We always throw in like sort of a transfer special there as well. So if the transfers are the transfer window closed on a different day, we normally jump on and do a live stream, because they'll always go down really well. We normally get pizzas in as well, but I don't think they've discussed that, so I don't think they're getting pizzas. So yeah, if you are free tomorrow, I think it'll probably be going live around about between 7 and 8 o'clock, but check our social media feeds as well. That'll give you a quick heads up. Or if you check later tonight, it will be just there as a placeholder, because I'm going to upload everything ready to go. But yeah, worst case scenario, check the social medias and it'll have the times on there tomorrow. But yeah, I'm done. Lock that away. Never discuss it ever again. Throw it into the sea and hope that it doesn't wash back up on shore. If you have liked this video, just like it. As I've said, become a subscriber. It costs you nothing to do that. If you do want to give an extra bit back, it is just $2.99 a month. We've got plenty of extra stuff coming this season for members as well, as part of that $2.99, which is next to nothing. $2.99, man. Like I said, you get extra content, you get early access to videos, you get access to the Telegram group as well, which was going absolutely mental yesterday after everybody sat through and enjoyed that 90 minutes of painful football. But yeah, there will be a link on this to become a member in the description, but you can join via the Gallagher Shots homepage on YouTube as well. Thanks very much, Ian. Sorry for putting you through that again. I'll promise I'll never do it again. And
it's fine. I'm off to Aldi now, so that's more exciting than last night.
Good luck with that. See you later. Cheers.